listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, Jon Cross.
So this is it's an all-new arena for the After Movie Diner. We have, ladies and gentlemen...
Same arena, different sound system?
You're right, it is not an all-new
You were using arena metaphorically, weren't you?
I was using arena to mean arena of the mind.
Arena of the mind.
Arena of the mind.
Which is where we fight, is where we do battle every week.
We do battle.
Not every week,
Not every week.
month if you're lucky.
Yeah, every month if you're lucky.
And by lucky I mean it's happening less often, and that's lucky for you.
No, it's not. It's going to happen more and more as we roll through the holiday season. The After Movie Diner is coming back to the arena of the mind.
The arena of the mind.
The arena
the
of
mind
the
arena.
Mind. The mind arena. Hello and welcome to Mind Arenas with Jon Cross
Mind Arena
and Jim Wallace.
Mr. Mind Arena.
And don't forget, as you head into the Christmas period, don't forget you can purchase some wonderful After Movie Diner merchandise.
Can you? Is that still happening?
It's still happening.
It's not on like
What?
You know, what's that? What's like the website from like 20 years ago? Like the hosting blogger.
Blogspot?
No. It's going to come to me later. It was going to be a great joke.
Like Angel
because
Fire?
I've forgotten. Angel Fire, that was it, yeah.
No, it's not on Angel Fire, nor was it ever on Angel Fire. Why are you saying it was on Angel Fire?
Well, I'm just saying, it feels like, the last time I looked at it, Angel Fire was a thing.
No, we have an all-new merch website.
Oh, we do?
We have an
like a merch-specific?
Sexy merch-specific website.
What is on this website?
Threadless now.
Even though it sounds like I'm shilling, I actually want to know what's on the website.
We're no longer with Cafe Press. Cafe Press. We are now with Threadless. Threadless is sexy. They're less than
Now,
threads.
here's, I think, the question that's on everybody's lips. Are they cheaper? Because Cafe Press was like, T-shirt, 50 quid.
No, it wasn't. It was $19.95.
Well, I guess that's all right. Thank you very much. Lovely, thank you.
Yes, I need a bit more.
Oh, yeah, okay.
$19.95 for a personally designed...
Yeah, that's
right.
So what are the designs then?
Individually
What are the designs?
Stop it.
What are the designs?
Stop it.
What?
We've got all new designs. I'm just saying.
I want to know.
As
I want to
we
know what
roll
the
into
designs are.
winter,
Tell me what the designs
It's
are.
just their logos.
Okay.
And I came up with a really cool logo. You know how in the corner of the podcast imagery, we have like a little jukebox, so it looks like a diner jukebox label that says the After Movie Diner.
Yeah.
You can now get that as like a cool old, like tatty jukebox label with like a folded up corner across the middle of a t-shirt.
Oh, that sounds nice.
It's kind of like hip and groovy and kind of cool. And anyway, it's very sexy.
Okay.
We're with Threadless.
What about our catchpasses? Do we have any t-shirts with like catchpasses on them?
No, but we could.
Do we have catchphrases?
You tell me now what you want on a t-shirt. Tomorrow, mate, I'll put it on a t-shirt. Have a
I'm trying to
thing.
think. Do we have catchphrases?
Ham, egg and chips.
Well, how about you always order ham, egg and chips?
Yeah.
Well, how about I don't always order ham, egg and chips? That could be a good slogan.
I'm thinking of ordering ham, egg and chips right now.
I know.
Anyway, I'm trying to tell people.
I'm sorry. I was doing quite a good job of...
Yeah, except that we went meandering.
We didn't meander.
No. When you said you were
my
trying
style.
to do a good
That's
job,
my vibe.
what you did was meander me all over the place.
That's just the way I roll, man.
No,
That's what you get when I'm on the show. You get meandering.
No.
But people don't realise they're gently being led.
No, they're not being gently led.
Towards their
do you know what they're being led
desires.
to? They're being gently led
their
to
own inevitable death.
They're being gently led to the why do I listen to this again?
Are they going to talk about the movie?
No, we're not. So anyway, we're
not going to talk about the movie?
Hang on a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said no, and I wondered if that was like a
well, not yet. Not yet. We're not.
All right.
Not yet.
Should we ring a bell when we are?
Yeah, you can ring a little bell when we're about to talk about
a mind bell.
The mind bell.
My mind bell. I'll ring my mind
bell.
Until
then, could you tell your mind to tell your mouth to shut up?
So what's in the store then?
Hang on a second. Could you just let me do the spiel?
I know, that's why I said what's in the store.
Hello,
that was
and welcome to the afternoon.
Oh, that spiel. Sorry. All right, yeah, crack on. Do the spiel.
Hello, welcome to the After Movie Diner. And we're in an all-new sound arena of the mind.
Arena of the mind.
And
Mind
we're
arena.
sat here in the Westway Diner on 9th Avenue near Times Square in an incredibly Christmassy decorated diner. It's kind of wonderful. We've got reds, we've got greens, we've got window paintings. I'm trying to paint a picture of the mind as well right now.
I'm just marvelling, mate. I'm marvelling at your picture drawing capabilities.
And giant snowflakes. We've got baubles. We've got some headache-inducing hologrammatic images of Times Square.
I'm ready. Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead.
I'm going to go for
please, for the love of God,
I'm going to have the Roma omelette, please.
Any toast or white, whole wheat?
Whole wheat toast, thank you.
Thank you.
You know what? I won't have no home fries though. Just the omelette and the whole wheat toast. That'd be great. Thank you.
I will have a bison burger, please. Can I get that with Swiss and bacon on it, please? And can I get that deluxe? But I don't need any of the lettuce, tomato, coleslaw, and pickle. I just want the French fries.
Nothing healthy, just the fries.
How do you like the burger, sir?
Medium. If it's a bison. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So yes, now that I've painted not only a soundscape of the mind, but also an image of the mind, I want to say as we head on in to this very jolly of seasons, this happy, and what I'm happy about is I'm feeling more Christmassy, and I do. Deep within my miserable British heart, I have a little small space for Christmas.
I was just thinking that today about how it's one of the few things I get. It's one of the few times a year where I'm uncomplicatedly happy about it. Doesn't matter what's going on in my life,
right,
or whatever else is happening.
It's just nice. It's Christmas.
I can be happy at Christmas. I mean, I'm happier in England at Christmas. I just think England do Christmas better, in my opinion. I just think things are a bit more Christmassy, and there's mince pies and mulled wine and all that stuff that I really, really liked. I hated when I was a kid, but now I love.
Well, because it's cozy.
Right, exactly.
It's sweaters and cardigans and slippers.
It's open fires.
Open fires.
It's
and
cricket on
armchairs.
Boxing Day. It's all that stuff that when I was a kid, like America is like what I loved about Christmas when I was a kid. It's like tons of stuff, colour and lights.
Yes.
Whereas Christmas in England is like what I have learned to love, which is warmth, sleep, a full stomach, and
but can I just say this?
Spices.
Well, spices.
Well, pud, mince pies, mulled wine, it's all spices, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that orange, remember at Amesbury, we had to make an orange and then we put like spices and cloves and shit in it, and it was called like the Higgledy orange or something. It had like a name.
Yeah.
Like the Goose Matron orange or something.
The Goose Matron?
Like it had some like...
You're not in charge of naming anything. If there's an apocalypse, right, and we have to start naming stuff again, you are at the back of the queue, all right?
Like the jolly old St. Pickle orange or something.
Yeah, that's better than fucking whatever the fuck Tron it was. The Goose Matron.
Well, it had a name, and they shoved stuff in it. And I think there was even a candle in it. I don't know what you were doing.
You got to put the tea. The thing they don't
Jim
get
has just removed
in a
the tea
diner,
bag
right,
from his tea.
It's like they give you the tea bag. They're like, job done. No, mate, you got to take the tea bag out. I've got to put the tea
bag. Put it on the
somewhere.
table. No, don't put it over there.
I'm not going to put it on the phone.
All right. Okay. Anyway. Jim had taken the tea bag.
They're trying to put it back in the bag.
And tried to put it back in the sachet that it came from. Anyway, as we slip into the Christmas season, which I do love Christmas.
I love a bit of Christmas, mate.
I do love a bit of Christmas. And in its own way, and we'll get to it, the movie that we went to see tonight.
It was more Thanksgiving-y, I'd say. It had more of a Thanksgiving vibe.
No, but I always think that detective stories.
That's true.
Agatha Christie stories.
Yes.
There's a little bit of Christmas in there.
Especially,
even though there's no Christmas
you're right.
in.
Lots of special guest stars. Mystery. Yeah, you're right. There's a certain kind of like what used to be like.
I think it's because old stately homes generally feel like Christmas.
But also, you get that thing with
the
BBC, like, they're showing something on Christmas Eve. The last couple of times I've been back, there's still been like a thing to watch on the BBC on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, like an Agatha Christie thing or something around that.
Yeah. So I like that, but
Me too, mate. I'm all for it.
As we slip into Christmas, I would just like to point people towards not only our new sexy merch store, which will be highly advertised on the website, and after Movie Diner.
When will you start pulling in the big bucks?
Never. But I also think...
Is there some kind of is there some kind of award that could be given to you by the listeners of the diner for your persistence in the face of near constant and total apathy? Especially with regards to like merchandise and leaving comments and leaving reviews.
You mean that I keep asking people to do things?
Yeah, and they don't do them.
With the nicest and sweetest and fullest of hearts.
Right.
And occasionally I am happily surprised by maybe one or two really great things.
Yes.
The thing is, Jim, is that when those happy surprises happen, they mean the entire world. So I will mention things on 365 podcasts if for one brief shining moment.
Are you threatening
We have
people with a podcast a day unless they start buying t-shirts?
No, not at all. No,
Are you is this reverse psychology?
What I am threatening is that I'm going to end the podcast right now if you don't let me get through a sentence I've been trying to say for 10
I didn't realise.
minutes.
I'm sorry. Crack on, mate. As we slip into...
Right. I would like to point people towards not only the wonderful...
The sexy merch store. Got it.
Sexy new merch store.
Sexy merch store.
Which, by the way, I would love to encourage people to either social media us, email us at hello@aftermoviediner.com or call us at 347-669-0053 and suggest things that they want to see on a t-shirt. Even better. Choose your own t-shirt, I'll make it, and then you
Once
can buy
again,
it.
mate, your optimism in the face of certain apathy.
Well, no, because there might be like Michael Fitzgerald, who's always retweeting us and resharing stuff.
That's true.
Andy Lunn or whatever. Dr.
a lot of
Fuzz.
pressure.
Dr. Fuzz.
A lot of pressure.
No, but they're always saying like, oh, we love that bit when, or we think it's funny when Jim and John say this or whatever.
So you're saying,
right?
thank you.
No.
Now you're just discouraging them. And I get what you're saying, but you're just discouraging them from getting involved anymore. It's like they've got involved a bit and now you want more from them.
No, I don't want more. What I want from them is just to know their favourite bits, and I'll put it on a t-shirt. Not necessarily for them to buy.
Maybe.
But hang on a second. Maybe if they pick a really good thing, I'll send them a free t-shirt. You never know. Like that could be a thing. That's fine. I could do that. I recently when Mitch won, Todd got overexcited. The band Todd got overexcited won the Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures Cover Song Challenge. He got a free t-shirt mailed to him. He got it today and he posted about it on social. A Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures t-shirt.
I need to get myself a new Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures t-shirt because the armpit went in mine and I wore it so much.
Right, exactly. So you can
Which
get a
says
new
something
one.
about how much I love the t-shirt and something about my armpits.
You can get a new one at the sexy new Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures merch store as well.
Tell you what,
Two new merch stores.
Tell you what, for anyone listening to this particular podcast,
Yes.
I will make this guarantee. If somebody comes up with a good enough slogan, like that I like, not just, a lot of, there's two entries and they're both shit.
Right.
If there's a really good entry that I like, I will send that person a free t-shirt.
Great, excellent. So that's something Jim will do, and maybe I'll do it as well, who knows. But
then they've got two t-shirts.
That's fine. Hello@aftermoviediner.com, 347-669-0053, or hit us up on the socials and tell us what you would like to see on a t-shirt.
I'm not saying I'm going to buy a t-shirt for everybody.
No.
One slogan that will win
one
and get in the store, and I will buy somebody that t-shirt.
Who did it? Right, great.
Yeah.
And I have, under the Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures banner, released my new Christmas single, available now on Spotify.
I have not listened to
Play,
it yet.
Amazon.
I'm sorry. Since I moved jobs, I have no longer the ability to listen to music.
Oh, you can't listen to music at work?
Well, no. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I can't make the headphone socket work on my computer.
I will sort him out, listeners, so that he can listen to the wonderful new Miscellaneous
tell me about the new Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures. What's it called?
Not one song, but two songs.
Oh, wow. What are they called then, these
there's
songs
one
yours?
called I Kind of Like Christmas.
Cool.
And there's one called Christmas on the Road, which is a upbeat Bruce Springsteen Thunder Road style pastiche.
Cool.
Which is all about his family having Christmas on the road
That's nice.
for reasons.
Well, that sounds good, mate.
Yep, so that's all available.
I'll be checking that out tomorrow.
That's all available. All the links will be in the
I
podcast
also have a
description.
Christmas album.
Yes, you do.
It's
Why
not
don't you tell everyone?
recently released or
Why don't
anything.
you tell
but
everyone where they can find you?
They can find it.
online?
They can find it on the least visited place on the internet, which is
jawallace.com.
jawallace.com, that nobody goes to.
It's because we never talk about it, but this is a perfect opportunity.
jawallace.com. It is like a Tumblr page, as it were, hosted, but all it is just like a series of links. So it's like a link to a Bandcamp, link to a YouTube page, link to like a Google Photos doc where I've had publishers on there. It's just links. But they're all legit links. It's not like dodgy links.
You know what you should do?
What's that?
As Christmas slides in amongst and around us as a sort of warm yet cold blanket of icy snow and filth, filled with, needles and the sense of overriding despair. But as Christmas does that to us all, you should probably buy Jim's book. Are you hurtling towards God knows what?
It would be a good
it's a great Christmas present. It's one of the great Christmas presents. I bought your the zine you were in.
Thank you very much.
I bought that.
That was very kind of you.
I now have it next to your book.
That's very kind.
I have the zine and the book.
And it's good too because
great poem in that zine, by the way.
It's a good one.
Tell everyone what the zine was.
This magazine was called Illumin.
Yes.
And the poem was called.
Felt like I was buying like a magazine that was possibly part of the Illuminati.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it is, mate. That's what I am. Hence my massive poetic success.
Is that why you started doing that weird
The Illuminati
handshake?
have backed me as the cultural boulder that's rolling down the hill towards modern society.
I thought you were going to say cultural bulge then. That's not good.
Cultural boulder, mate. That's me.
I think bulge is probably
it would be a
right.
good. Now the reason it'd be a good present is you could give it to people and look like look good doing it.
Look
like
cultured.
Here's some poetry. Look cultured, right?
Poetry.
But they would never have to read it. They could flick through it and go, well, that was a nice line, I like that. And then they could put it on a shelf, feel good about owning a book of poetry without ever actually having to read it.
Yeah, not only that, look at that. You'd be supporting an independent artist. Everyone loves not.
And it's available everywhere.
Everyone loves massively avoiding supporting independent artists. You know what I mean? Madonna comes out with a 50th version of her best of classics with a picture of her tits on the front cover, and everyone goes wild.
But again, your cultural references are so Madonna hasn't come out with an album of her greatest hits with her tits on the cover
I'm just saying,
for 25 years.
Well, okay, they roll out another I don't know, Ariana Grande fucking hat or something.
Slightly better. I'm just saying.
And everyone goes
I'm just
crazy.
saying, oh no, another Madonna greatest hits.
I don't know. Well, you know what made me think of that is because because
it's because you're always thinking about
because the Daft Punk guys and Madonna and that other guy and that crazy person all got together and started their own paid-for music streaming service because they were like, Spotify doesn't pay us enough, even though all we're doing is shilling shit we made 40 years ago.
That was also 10 years ago. That company is, I believe, already folded.
Oh, well, whatever. Daft Punk, there and other people can fuck off. But
again, the battle has been fought.
No, I get it. But listen, what I was trying to say is, instead of supporting independent artists, people seem very willing to run out and buy the latest, whatever.
So, I think the fact that we can't even name what the latest whatever is might be as a clue as to why nobody's interested in our stuff.
Disney produced, Nike swooshed, pop starlet.
I mean, I do know that there's a TV show called High School Musical.
Yeah.
The TV show live. That's actually a thing.
But wasn't that Glee? Wasn't Glee High School Musical the TV series?
Yeah, but this is High School Musical the TV show live.
Right.
So it's like you've got High School.
It's like Glee.
Only live.
Only live.
And it's at High School. I don't know where Glee's sat.
What's High School?
Okay, then yeah, it is like that. Only Glee was like High School Musical, only as a TV show.
Well, it's all very confusing.
It is.
But what I'm saying is...
Welcome to modern entertainment, mate.
What is it that
There's
everyone
no
went
room
nuts
for
about
poetry
recently?
and
Anyway,
podcasts.
support an independent artist, which is something none of you have been doing enough.
I mean, they've been listening to us. That's probably about as heavy a lift as we can ask.
I don't think they're still listening to us.
Are they not?
Not on this episode.
No. Yeah,
This
good
was
point.
our big comeback episode, and we're already blowing it all over the
It depends
shop.
what people are looking for. If they're looking for incisive film critiquing, I feel like they would have left us behind a long time ago.
Yes.
If they're looking for two hopelessly out of touch, grumpy people,
Yeah.
like
I have to say,
irritating each other and interrupting, then I'd say this is a solid gold classic.
I have to say, though, I think our... oh, excellent. Look
That's
at that.
great.
Not a bit of lettuce or tomato in sight. Love it.
Lovely, thank you very much,
Fantastic.
mate. Lovely, thank you. Smashing, tar.
Okay, all good?
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's great. Thanks, mate.
Fantastic. Oh, could I get a side of brown gravy? Is that possible? Thank you. I'd forgotten.
Can I just that was one of the most old men thing I've ever seen you do. You went, oh, and then you paused while you had to remember what it was that you said, oh, bear with me. I'll be with you in a minute.
Bear with me, I'm just winding my brain up internally. So I can remember that I should have asked for
Can
brown
I just
gravy.
say, it's fucking happening. Like,
It's
it's
so-
it's so inevitable.
But it's so... What I really love, is that not only are we recording it,
Got to send it to old age and irrelevance. Live.
Jim Wallace and Jon Cross descended to old age and irrelevance. Maybe that's where we've been going wrong there. Maybe we should have put the word live after everyeverything. It's just like other film podcasts you've heard, only it's live.
It's
and
live.
they're descending into irrelevance.
Live. Yeah.
I like the way they've melted the obvious square of Swiss.
It's a bit thicker
adjacent.
though. It's a bit. At least you've got a couple of bits on there.
Yeah, it's good. Oh, that gave me a good chuckle.
Yeah. There's a lot of good jets.
Yeah. As the world goes to hell, Jim Wallace and Jon Cross descend into old age and irrelevance live before
in your,
your
ear
ears.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't ask for more than that, really. I mean, you could. You could ask for a lot
You
more.
could, and you have.
You could ask
Unfortunately, this is the reply.
Oh, they put cheese on the bottom as well. That's a double cheese whammy.
The bacon looks pretty good too, and look at the chips.
I'm now worried, though, that while the mics are picking up our voices better, it's also going to pick up more chewing.
Let's try and chew quietly.
No, let's give people an audio treat
But I remember
at this point.
your man McDonald complaining about how much he could hear us chew.
Who did?
McDonald's.
Mark McDonald?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about slipping away into irrelevance.
Does he listen to the podcast?
Maybe.
Probably not anymore because
He's
we're
in
chewing.
Utah. I don't even know if they allow podcasts in Utah. They probably outlawed it because of Space Jesus or something.
Yeah, Jesus, fucking space Jesus, man. So did you make your announcement? Was that it? It was the Christmas thing. Because I interrupted with my own Christmas album shilling.
Well, that and we have the new microphones. It's allowing everyone to hear me masticate.
I have a feeling that may be a thing. Do you want to listen and hear if it's a thing?
I don't care, mate.
Okay.
My feeling is this.
Right.
You've traded listening to a shout down a...
All I can think of is watch the face on the Alan Partridge Christmas special eating the buttery biscuit.
Well, look, get with it, mate. You've got to take the rough with the smooth.
But I'm my bottom, really.
A bit like my bottom, which is still the funniest thing
That's.
ever.
I think of that line every time I hear anybody saying rough with a smooth.
I
That's what I
can't believe
think.
I came up with that. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. Thank
Although
you.
I also think every time someone says Rome wasn't built in a day, I always reply out loud,
Yeah.
if it was, it would be very small. And then people look at me a bit funny for a bit. But I'm happy, you know.
Well, because you remember me doing it. What was
No,
hilarious
it's a
about
funny
that?
line. It's a brilliant line.
What was hilarious about that was John was like, Sure, the line's fine, but it would be much funnier if Krusty was running through a treacherous piece of woodland, throwing himself against trees.
Some of the sketches, I mean, obviously a lot of it, wasn't great, but some of the sketches, it looks a bit more like pea soup in gravy, but that's cool. Were genuinely really funny. That was really good. And then I tied him to the tree, right? Can't think why.
Yeah, but that was just a Brian Laurie
It's still funny though.
rip-off. Yeah, so Christmas, support the podcast, buy our stuff. Hope you're liking the new microphones. Sorry if you can hear us chewing grossly. I really don't know what else to do. So,
Yes, the movie.
yes,
I think I can sum it up by saying,
yes. What was it called first?
Knives Out. Which I was worried about for a number of reasons. One, the first time I saw the trailer, I really loved it. And then the subsequent trailers, I liked it less. And then it got nearly universal critical acclaim.
That always worries me.
Which meant, oh God. And then every single trailer before the movie, well, not every single trailer, but most of the trailers were terrible, which is usually a sign of it not being a good movie.
Yeah.
And then about 10 minutes into
Now,
the
what
movie...
you're saying is the trailers before going to see this movie were terrible. Not, I know you didn't like them, but not that the Knives Out trailers were bad.
Sorry, yeah, the trailers in the cinema that were playing before the movie weren't good.
And Jim has this theory.
I have a theory that if the trailers before the movie are all shocking,
This
the
is
movie
Jim's
will
theory,
be shocking.
what it is, and the theory that I'm about to say now.
However, there were a couple of okay trailers in there, so it's not completely... Anyway.
Well, by okay, listeners,
You know what?
Jim is being incredibly kind.
No, I want to see 1917. I thought Antebellum probably looked like it would be fine.
No fucking interest in seeing 1917.
I think 1917 would be quite good because it looks like two soldiers. It looks like a Poseidon adventure.
No, it doesn't. You know what it looks like? It looks like the thing that was called Edge of Tomorrow, whatever, is now called Die, Rinse, Repeat, or whatever.
No.
It looks like that mixed with...
No, it's the Poseidon adventure.
Mixed with...
They've got to get from one end of the boat to the other, and I love those movies. They've got to get from one end of the war to the other. That's a brilliant idea for a movie.
No, balls to it. No time for
It's
it.
only because it's got Cumberbatch in it.
And
Which
it's directed
actually
by
brings me
Sam-
neatly
Mendes.
to about 10 minutes into the film. I thought, I don't think I'm going to get over the fact that I don't buy Daniel Craig in this at all.
I don't buy Daniel Craig in it.
However, as the movie went on, and he was in it a bit less, and then when he came back in a slightly different character role, like his character subtly shifted about halfway through the movie, and I liked him a lot more. He was a bit less of a showman and a bit more of a co-conspirator, and I liked him more in that shift in the movie, and I ended up really, really liking him. That's my feeling.
It's directed by Rian Johnson, personal friend of John Daniel and the Mountain Goats.
Who made Brick, which is still one of my favourite films.
Who made Brick, which was excellent. Who made Looper, which wasn't so good.
I like Looper.
And then what did he do after Looper?
Last Jedi.
Is that all he's done?
He did it. No, after Brick, he made The Brothers Bloom, which I think nearly killed his career because it had big stars in it. It was Rachel Weisz, Adrian Brody, and
the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
When they were all just coming up. And it was a mess. And I think it was a mess because he wasn't really allowed to finish it. I think it ran out of money. It was a whole fucking thing. And it wasn't a very good movie. And he was kind of finished. And then he came back and made Looper, which is what got him the Last Jedi gift. Because whatever you think about Looper, and I really liked it, it did make a lot of money, and it was made for beans. And people really dug the movie, and I really dug the movie. And I really, really liked Last Jedi too. I realise that there's probably plenty of people listening to this podcast who fucking hate The Last Jedi, and I kind of understand why they do. But I loved it.
I'm massively indifferent.
Right. I thought a bit of humour.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, it's funny.
I'm massively indifferent to Star Wars films.
Well, The Last Jedi is probably the only one that you might actually like because it's funny and it doesn't take itself too seriously, but has some serious things to say, but like serious things not in the context of the world, like, oh my god, but what if, but like actually about like people and ambitions.
Is droopy face emo Vader in it?
He is, but it's not really about him. I mean, who knows? I mean,
so dull.
Maybe you won't, but it's not. Maybe you won't.
He's dull in everything.
He is. I don't like him either. But
Adam Driver.
yeah. But rather than talking about Adam Driver, I really like the movie. I was a bit unsure about. Oh, I was very unsure about Craig. And then when it became clear that Marta was the main character of the film, which like takes like what, half an hour, 40 minutes before that becomes clear, right?
Yeah.
When she becomes the main character of the film and the focus is off Craig and Craig becomes like a supporting player,
Right.
I started to enjoy his performance a lot more. When he was more of an observer rather than a driver of the action.
My biggest problem, and I agree with you, that by the end, my whatever sort of nagging problems I had with Craig, especially with his accent,
Yeah.
fell by the wayside, and I was able to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
I can't say, by the way, that it's like the greatest film ever.
No.
But it's an enjoyable slice of hokum.
I do feel like it's what America needs at Thanksgiving. Like that's something that struck me in that it didn't have like an overtly political message, except I guess you could argue that there's a message in there about privilege and, you know, versus things that you earn, and that having a good heart is better than greed.
I think it had politics in it.
Yeah, it did, but what I liked the most about it was that the political discussion that they actually had, the Thanksgiving like family discussion, was like you had like two sides of the argument, and they were being argued by arseholes. You know, one side wasn't good, and one side was evil. They were both just, and they weren't like being anything other than arguing like the points of the day in the way that those people would argue them. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, hey, by having this argument, we're making another point. It's just they were arguing in the way that people from either side argue.
Right.
And they were both arseholes. And it was like, we don't really want to be involved in this.
So anyway, though, just to almost say this, and then so that I don't have to like keep saying it throughout the thing.
Fair enough.
To use the metaphor that Daniel Craig uses in the movie, the donut hole in the middle of the donut in this movie,
Yeah.
is him and his performance. And the only reason being that is not because it's a bad performance, and not because he's not giving it the beans and trying his best to do something interesting and different and not be James Bond and whatever. Or not be Northern, or not be anything that Craig's done in the past. He is doing all that, and for that reason I did kind of like forgive it.
I know what you mean.
The biggest problem with the thing is that everything else in the film, everything else, feels either authentic or the right person for the role. Even if it's someone like Michael Shannon, like having fun with it, I don't know like what authenticity he brings, because his character was fairly, you know, cliche/vague. But it's Michael Shannon. He's, you know, doing his I've got a slight madness and menace underneath an ineffectual and slightly like nervous exterior. And it's Michael Shannon, and it's fine, and it feels good, and it feels authentic, and it feels right, and it feels funny, and it's great.
And Chris Evans is perfect.
Chris Evans was perfect in it. Jamie Lee Curtis was well cast. Don Johnson was great in it.
He was really good.
Really good in it. Everyone, but this is my point. Everyone was really good, really authentic. The two cops were brilliant.
Yeah, they were really great.
The biggest hole in the movie is that the way it was written was not the way it was cast for the Craig role. Like, what's amazing is, even right down to like the guard keeper, which we see only once, the groundskeeper, which we only see once. the fact that Rian Johnson casts M. Emmett Walsh is amazing. Like, it's not only a casting decision that makes perfect sense for the character, but it's a casting decision where you're like, I love this movie now because M. Emmett Walsh is in it.
Yeah.
So it has both things, right?
It's like whenever Charles Grodin turns up.
Yes. And it's like Rian Johnson, you go, I'm giving you a pass for everything because you put M. Emmett Walsh in. You know what I mean? And there was other examples of that throughout the film, but like having M. Emmett Walsh show up was just a stroke of absolute genius. But again, he feels authentic in the, slightly doddery, schlubby old groundskeeper of like a mad New England stately home. Nothing about Craig at all screams slightly eccentric Southern detective. Like, he's meant to be a Southern, like a French Southern Cajun version of Poirot, basically. And try as he might, and again, I'm going to give him huge points for giving it the beans, because he really does. So I'm giving him, this is not me shitting on Craig because I generally don't like Craig and stuff. This is me going, no, you gave it the beans, but it does knock a point off the film because I could never sit comfortably with the authenticity of him. I sat well with the authenticity of every other person he cast, but that needed to be definitely a slightly older looking, maybe not older, but like older looking. He needed to be either impeccably dressed or schlubby, not this kind of like middle ground of like, well, is he schlubby or is he impeccably dressed? Like, is he tweedy or is he a Southern gentleman? Like, you have to kind of pick that, and they didn't pick that. And I'm guessing probably because if they dressed him up like a comical Southern lawyer with like a waistcoat and a pocket watch and a beige suit and mopping his brow and whatever, Craig would have just looked ridiculous doing that. But if they'd completely Sherlock Holmes'd him up, it wouldn't have made any sense him being from the South. So it was a whole thing. And a lot of that bothered me about the film because I'm like, well, considering you're trying to construct this, tight, twisty, if not a little obvious, I have to say, but tight, twisty, throwback detective film, for your detective to be one of the problems in the film was an issue for me.
I actually wouldn't disagree with that. Because the one thing I thought at the beginning, when I was dissatisfied with Craig, was it needed to be a vehicle for like a great performance. And I agree with everything you said. I'm not doubting that he really was giving everything he had. And towards the end, when the focus is off him and a bit more on the mystery and on her and how does it all fit together and where's this all going, and when you get caught up in the pace of it, and it's not so, and he's just a part of that, he becomes a lot more acceptable.
You know who it should have been?
I don't, but you're going to tell me and I'm going to agree.
John C. Reilly.
He would have been really good, yeah. He would have been great. Would he have been too... It's tough, though. It's a tough needle thread, because if it's too comic...
No, but he doesn't... John C. Reilly can do both.
I know, but if he's doing a Southern drawl detective in a kind of a comic movie, I feel like he's maybe too far. I know what you're saying.
But the movie could have used a little bit of, especially during the middle, could have used a bit of comedic juice.
He could have done really well.
And the only reason I'm saying that is initially my brain went, well, this is Jeff Bridges. And then I'm like, well, actually, he's too old. And not only that, he would do it as Jeff Bridges does every role now with his like, where somehow his tongue is trying to engulf his beard.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really pronounce anything. So I was like, knock that down 20 years and someone who could embody the role, feel authentic, but also add a little pep to the step. And for my money, that's John C. Reilly.
No, I go along with that. I mean, I suspect...
I would have even gone, weirdly, for like a Matthew McConaughey.
McConaughey would have been good. McConaughey would have been good. Yeah, he would have been good. He could have like, because you could have schlubbed him up without making him look ridiculous.
Right.
He would look schlubby.
He just would feel authentic.
Yeah. And you'd feel like maybe he is a genius, even though he's giving us this like ridiculous Southern drawl. Like all that stuff of like, the Southern drawl is supposed to be like, is this just shining us on? You know, but the problem is that all that gets lost when that's what Craig really is shining you on. You know, it's not like he really talks like that, but he's slightly exaggerating it and being a bit slow so that you will kind of underestimate him. And is he like, what's his deal? Is he really a genius?
The only reason to cast Craig in the role is if there's a reveal in it where Craig isn't really the guy.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think the reason you get Craig in the role is because he's probably the biggest name in the picture, right? I know it's an ensemble cast, but I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween aside, no. Michael Shannon, like weird, you know, overly serious science fiction films aside, no.
I mean, Toni Collette with the whole Conjuring thing. She's pretty big now.
No, she's big, but like, you're not going to go and see a film with Toni Collette above the thing. Don't get me wrong, I will watch Toni Collette in anything. I think she's fucking brilliant. If anything, she was slightly wasted in this. I think I might have rather seen her as the. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis was great, but it almost feels like Toni Collette does like Little Drop of Poison a bit better than Jamie Lee Curtis does.
No, I thought Curtis was one of the best ones ever.
No, she was really, really good. No, she was great.
Her
John Johnson was great. No, they were
Chris
both
Evans,
great.
As a family,
they were great. They were so awful. They were great. And I loved Evans. He was having so much... And what was great was he was completely believable in all three parts he played in the movie. He was completely believable as all three. Like, of all the great performances... You know what I mean? Like that authenticity you're talking about. He was totally authentic.
Evans is probably the biggest now after Captain America.
That's true, yeah, he probably is the big man.
And I have to say, while I loved what Evans was doing, it kind of gives the ending away. Kind of.
I didn't see the ending coming. I saw the...
You didn't? I totally did.
I saw the switcheroo from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't see it as... I didn't see it.
No, I did see the ending coming.
But this is all to say, because I agree with you about Craig, but I was sitting there for the movie thinking, I wish there were more films like this that were just...
I was just about to say.
Well written. It obviously didn't cost a fortune. Every actor in this film is clearly like falling down their knees, like thanking God that they get to do like do something. Even like you're saying, some of the parts aren't that great, but every single one of them had like a few scenes where they could really get their teeth into it. You know,
right? It was what was nice about it. So you know, there was a time where detective stories, whether they were the hard-boiled private eyes or whether they were the, you know, bumbling Columbos or whether they were the Sherlock Holmes's Poirot's, were relatively big business on the big screen. And, you know, every couple of years you could probably consider...
That Branagh Murder on the Orient Express did pretty good business at the box office.
Yeah, although, again, like, once you have Albert Finney bumbling around...
I'm nowhere am I saying was it good. I will not ever watch... No. Was Branagh Poirot?
Yeah.
Then I'm never watching that.
No. You can't beat Albert Finney. Just put everything down and be done.
Well, you can try.
David Suchet on TV, total different kettle of fish, mate. You know what I mean? That's like.
Although I really liked the Malkovich one, I enjoyed the fucking hell out of that.
What was that?
Have you not seen it? It's like it got
wasn't it called the ABC Murders? Or
it got like lots of like they're doing Poirot wrong. You know what I mean? Like got them really upset. But it was all about like Poirot's a jumped up immigrant who should know his fucking place, like solving a crazy like serial killer murder. And it's like it's kind of like dark.
It's on Amazon. I want to.
Yeah, it's like dark and dour, but in a knowing we're doing a dark and dour thing. It's cool. You know what I mean?
It's
not it's so serious. Like this is ridiculous, but let's have some different kind of ridiculous fun with it. Malkovich is just brilliant.
Yeah, and you know, one of my favorite genres is the detective story.
Yeah.
And what there is way too few of are detective films.
Yeah, yeah.
It's why every time Shane Black decides to do a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or a Nice Guys, even though, you know, you can't really tell the difference between the two films, and it's very, like, repetitive to some extent. The fact that he does it, like, once every 5 years, here's my, you know, two mismatched people,
right,
solve a crime.
Can I just say this, right? What? I have read in my life, I don't know how many Dick Francis novels, right? Like 40, maybe? And in every single one, a jockey or somebody with something to do with horses, but is basically the same character, gets involved in some kind of murder mystery, again, involving horses or on a racetrack, and at the end it all turns out fine.
Yeah.
It's the same book every year.
Yeah.
I've read all 40 of them.
It's cozy.
It's just as fun every single time.
Yeah. So it's nice to see Rian Johnson doing this. And what this is... Hey, how are you? What this is like is... It's almost a Wes Anderson film without the like soundtrack.
Yeah.
And without the now not just bordering on parody, but like massively splashing about in parody that Wes Anderson films have become.
I tell you,
everyone else loved
it's like
Grand Budapest, but I'm watching it and I'm like, this is more Anderson than even I can take, and I love Anderson. But
I really liked Grand Budapest, but only because it's just Fiennes.
I did, but it was, I mean, compared to his best,
Fiennes could have pulled it off.
No, Fiennes can only pull off doing Leonard Rossiter. If Fiennes isn't doing Leonard Rossiter, I've got no time for him.
Right, fair enough. I think he could probably do it. But
yeah, if he was going around being like, you know, oh, Mrs. Miggins, where's my knockers? Like, if you watch Grand Budapest Hotel again, right, and picture Leonard Rossiter in the role, you're like, oh my God, Fiennes is Leonard Rossiter. Seriously, he is doing Leonard Rossiter.
Fine with me. He should just keep doing Leonard Rossiter.
Fiennes with me.
Fiennes with me.
Yeah. No, don't go for English actors. Go for an American actor who can either do a Southern accent or an actual Southern American accent.
I'm a little bit of like... I don't care, like...
But it was Wes Anderson without being too twee.
It's kind of playful, but with he's a bit more... I've just realised what the whole metaphor of the movie is, by the way, and it is extremely political, but that's fine. Which is that there are a lot of rich, vicious white people are frightened to death that they'll be replaced by immigrants, and maybe they should be if the immigrants are nice and kind and you're vicious and cruel.
Yeah.
Is like the simple message of the movie. I've only just realised that, even though it's pretty obvious now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But that's not a terrible message when you're like, you know, it's like simple but effective. And, it's really about like, but being kind is better than being cruel and selfish.
But it's not necessarily talking about like all immigrants, but it's talking about the ones that we trust in our hospitals, and we trust driving our kids to school, and we trust mowing our lawns, and we trust doing that. But God fucking forbid they, I don't know, own a house they can afford, or like have cheese or whatever it is that we don't want them to have.
Yeah.
So it's more about that. It's more about. I
think it's specifically because that's what I like about it is that I don't think it's hiding it. It's specifically like a bunch of rich, mean people are worried or have everything that they have worked for, or rather everything that's been handed to them, taken away by an immigrant, literally living in their house, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that was the other bit of casting, which was brilliant. Frank Oz as the attorney.
Oh, that was Frank Oz? Mm-hmm. He was great.
And what's funny about that is he directed Death at a Funeral, the Peter Dinklage...
right.
The dead guy turns out to have been having an affair with Peter Dinklage, and...
I haven't seen it, so don't... Did you spoil a huge... It's fine. It's been out for a while.
It's in the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't spoil anything that isn't in the trailer. But yeah, he directed that. the American remake. I think he directed the original one, the British film.
Okay.
But he also did Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and he was obviously Miss Piggy. And
Yeah, you can tell that Rian Johnson loves Frank Oz films.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be crazy not to love Frank Oz.
That's true.
All I'm saying is, I will give Rian Johnson the time of day every day because of M. Emmett Walsh and Frank Oz.
And I will give him the time of day because every film, bar The Brothers Bloom, which, thank you very much.
Oh no, go right ahead. Yeah, thank you.
And the only reason that Brothers Bloom didn't work is it had to be. It was a you know, a double cross heist, you know, movie.
Right.
And those only work if they're tight as a drum from beginning to end.
Right.
And he obviously ran out of money and didn't get the time to make it properly, so
Right.
it just like falls completely to pieces in the second half because it doesn't have that.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would
Everything
say,
else he's done, I fucking love.
the one thing I would say about Johnson is that he doesn't quite have the chutzpah in his scripts that someone like a Shane Black does. Shane Black's magic trick is, you know something's going on, right? You know it's got to do with like powerful people covering up their evil deeds and whatever.
Right.
And you know that the two schlubby, wisecracking people are going to get there in the end. But his magic trick is all the other bollocks, right?
Right.
His magic trick is like the wisecracks, the quips, the child that's, you know, more of an adult than the parent is. It's all of the stuff that's going on around the central thing. And it's the voiceover that says, well, this might be relevant later on, like, even though that in itself is probably a red herring. And he just has a good way of doing the misdirection with all his bells and whistles.
It was good, guys.
Yeah, lovely.
Everything
Thank
was
you.
fantastic.
Yeah, so
Thank
we'll
you.
just get the bill.
I'm good, yeah, we can just get the check.
You always get the check. Thanks, mate.
But I think with Rian Johnson, what he'd set himself up a somewhat difficult task because there wasn't much to hide anything behind. There was also one thing that kind of didn't play out. There was talk of like the dad, the victim, Chris Plummer, being something of like a trickster and a game player and a like, you know, secret passageways, thriller writer and whatever. And that didn't really.
It didn't,
come
but
into
to be
it.
fair,
like,
I think
yes, all right. The
but to be
letter
fair,
was written in.
But to be
invisible
fair,
ink
I
and-
think that was to because what? Okay, so I agree with you, but I think that was there to deal with precisely what you're saying. Is that I think there had to be like a kind of an element over the whole thing of like, is he really dead?
No,
is this all a big game?
Totally.
So you're kind of like, with that in the back of your mind, you're never completely sure about whatever you're settling on, which is definitely true.
Right.
And I liked that halfway through, obviously, that I thought, this is kind of interesting, that when Evans and her kind of team up, that we're watching a murder mystery where it's about how not to get... Thank you very much, thank you.
Where potentially...
It's like how not to get caught.
Where
you know what I mean?
potentially...
It's like how to cover up
the
solving of
murderer
the crime.
and the detective are working together.
Yeah.
And it's also...
Oh, yeah, which is a really neat
And it's
trick.
also
Yeah.
the idea that... What did you make of the whole she couldn't tell a lie thing?
I thought it was funny, and I think a lot of what he does, and I like this about him, so much of what he does is payoff. It's true of The Last Jedi as well. That the mug, the sick thing, all of those things, like, they're great and they do their job in their own way, and then later on in the movie it leads to a big payoff, and that's why they're there.
You have a murderer who's working with a detective who can't, and the murderer cannot tell a lie.
Right.
And so it's also there, I guess, to add tension to the fact that if we're
it also makes her not an evil. It takes away the idea of her being evil or manipulative or in it for herself.
Right.
Because instead of her thinking, while this is happening, like, she's not thinking, you know, should I tell the truth? Should I come clean? You know, all of those, like, moral choices that her character would have to make to be, like, a nice character for the audience, I totally subsumed beneath this, if I lie, I'm going to throw up. And it's like, and I can't do that because I can't give all this away because it's too fucking complicated to explain.
Right.
So she's totally focused all the time she's with him on just trying to find a way not to lie. And so by giving her that narrow focus, she's forced as a character not to look at everything and the consequences of what she's doing.
Yeah. So answer me this.
Yeah.
Considering the wrap-up is satisfying, considering considering there's a lot of things in it, like, is it a murder, is it a suicide?
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of both. And all the stuff, considering it's all, like, very well done, it looks good, the use of camera is great, the supporting cast are excellent, etc. Why wasn't it more thrilling?
Because I don't think it was meant to be thrilling.
No, not thrilling, but I mean, why didn't I get a bigger kick out of it? Or am I just that tired at this point?
I'd say Craig sucks, for me, a lot of my initial enthusiasm out of the film quite quickly, because he turns up and he's so obviously supposed to be this big, like, larger-than-life figure. And, like, the bit when he sat at the back hitting the piano was genuinely really funny. But then when he actually steps forward and starts talking, it broke the film for me a bit. It did. And it took me a while to get back into it. And it was only when it became about her, which is half an hour, 40 minutes in. And so then it picks up. And it's very difficult to have, like, a strong opening. I'm meant to kind of disappear. Thank you. I'm meant to kind of disappear almost. Or at least you spend the next half an hour thinking, oh, like, just not being slightly alienated from it, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
And then when it comes back, and then you just can be like, well, no, this is actually really enjoyable. So then, it's that lowered expectation thing of, if we'd seen it, if this had been like a Star Video thing, and we were 13 and we'd heard of none of these people, you know what I mean? We would have enjoyed the shit out of that movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we'd never seen Craig in anything, like, we wouldn't have realised that thing was a gap in there. We would have just liked everything else.
Right.
But that's why it wasn't. I know exactly what you mean. That's why it wasn't more thrilling, because
I think I wanted to like it more than I ended up liking
Yeah, and
it.
that's a
Even
part-
though I can't sit there and say that anything about it was bad, I think Craig did his very best. I really do. I'm trying not to slag him off, because I think he did his very best.
he just wasn't right for the part.
He just was not right for the
He
part.
won't. No, you know what? Well, he wasn't right for the part, but also it was the wrong.
Weirdly enough, like,
He needed to be another distraction. He needed to be big enough
Nick
as a
Cage could
character.
have done it in a weird way. Cusack about 10 years ago would have been perfect.
Cusack couldn't pull off the accent.
Southern. He's done Southern before, and it's good.
Really?
Yeah, he's done Southern in a couple of films, and he's really good at them. He did Southern in that, like, very sweaty Louisiana set, Paperboy, whatever that movie was, where he played, like, the bad guy in it.
Oh, I don't know that. There's plenty of people that could have done it, and it's not that. It's just like you say. It's not like Craig didn't give it everything he had, and it's not like towards the end of the movie he didn't kind of come into his own as a. Because I suppose actually the other thing is when his character has energy, right? When he's chasing things, or when he's on the scent, when he's like, when his character has like motion, like there's movement to him in terms of like that he's on a trail, he becomes a lot more interesting. But when he's just a passive observer of things, and his magnetism and reputation are supposed to kind of slightly distort things around him, and your eyes should be like drawn to his charisma. That part he can't do.
Yeah, what was super weird was all the things I liked about Craig in the role were like the little asides where he was sat in the car like talking about donuts or humming to himself or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, the ambulance pulls up and he's like, oh my God, I forgot what I was doing. You know, whatever. Like, that stuff was great. Yet, the role he's most known for, obviously James Bond to most people right now, you know, that role, he's meant to come into a room, command the room, know what everyone is up to, and like take him out.
You're right. That's the one. Yeah,
that's what James Bond has to do, right?
Yeah.
And to some extent, that's what this character has to do. He has to come in, take charge, but in a disarming, slightly Columbo Poirot type way. But he has to still come in and take charge. And what's interesting about it, and I think also probably one of his failings as James Bond, although he has a slight thing about it, is that Craig is not a walk in among something and take charge actor. He just isn't. In fact, I don't really know, like, you know, because before James Bond, like, Craig did a lot of, like, period piece stuff, you know, It's Grim Up North stuff, did a lot of TV, did, you know, some World War II stuff, things like that. Stuff that most British jobbing actors kind of bounce around in. And there was nothing particularly, like, dynamic or interesting about him. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't, again, like, whatever, let him have a career. Like, Joseph Fiennes had a career, so let's, like, you know what I mean? And he's bloody awful. Yeah. So, yeah, let Craig do whatever he wants to do. It just did not. And I love mysteries like this, and there's so much to love about this, and I want people to see it, and I want people in their, like, late teens, early 20s, who are just getting into detective stuff, who are a little bit nerdy and geeky about it, to go along to this and have a bunch of fun with it. Yeah. I really do. And in a world where, over the last 6 months, one of the biggest fucking debates has been this fucking Scorsese versus Marvel fucking bollocks. I mean, talk about a fucking storm in a teacup distraction against the horrors of the world. Load of old nothing.
Right.
In a world where we're all debating, like, you know, well, a Marvel film's art and what is cinema and blah, 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 blah. As we've always said on this show, first of all, this hooey that they don't make, you know, films in different genres anymore, it's all comic book and blah, 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 is hooey because we get to see plenty of them that aren't those movies. Yeah. And secondly, when these movies come out, generally, as long as they're well critiqued, which this one was in general, people do go and see it. This has now been in the cinema, I think, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
At least 3 weeks, if not more. I've seen loads of people covering it. Just like Ready or Not, it was another, like, ensemble film in a stately home with a bunch of stuff going on that people latched onto, people talked about. It was in the cinema a bunch of times. It's not a Marvel movie. It's not a hugely expensive movie. It's, you know, yeah, it's probably a bit of a pet project that he got to make off the back of The Last Jedi or whatever. And I just think to myself, like, these movies are still being made. So stop, like, this, oh my God, Disney swallows the earth. And if Disney is swallowing the earth at all, it's because fucking governments and corporations have let that happen, not the fucking people going to the cinema. I actually saw an article this week that was blaming comic book fans and nerds and geeks for, like, going to see these movies. And I'm like, that's not their fault. If you had grown up reading books, like, I grew up reading Sherlock Holmes, right? So every single adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Now, even Cumberbatch, I've seen all of his stuff, and I think he's like down the bottom towards some of the worst, but I will go see it. If there suddenly became like a Sherlock Holmes or a Hammer Horror cinematic universe that kind of had like a Sherlock Holmes versus all the Hammer Horror.
Is Rupert Everett still around?
He did 2 of the Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I know, but is he still around? Because he could have done it. Slap a southern accent on him and put him in this.
A bit too. No, not a fan.
Okay, fair enough.
But if there suddenly started to be like either a Hammer Horror cinematic universe or a Sherlock Holmes cinematic universe, or what else did we love as kids? Okay, I still will go and see every single James Bond film, even though I haven't really loved one since License to Kill, because, and you can't blame me for that. I grew up loving certain things. And if they're going to keep making them, or they're going to keep, like, experimenting with them, or do different things with them, or expand those worlds, or whatever, I'm going to want to go see what they're doing. Like, you can't, to turn around and blame comic book fans, or nerds, or geeks, or whatever, for, like, letting Disney swallow the sun.
Yeah, but you got to remember, although I don't, because they're genuine opinions, but that's, like, so many things get written now, specifically to get people who love things to, like, angry. It's
right.
Like
it's awful. Yeah, it's
The Guardian and all that lot are the worst. Give a column to someone, because it's always like top 10 trending now. Like, some absolutely outrageous horseshit opinion about whatever happens to be popular right there.
No, I get it.
Just so people will fucking click on it.
No, I get it. Oh, but all I was saying...
Not that people don't feel that way, and you're right, and they do bash on that shit, and you're right. And the other thing is, like, if Marvel films were all shit, if they were all as bad as Captain Marvel was, then they would have stopped making them years ago. But, like, most of them are really well-made, exciting, funny movies. And yeah, they've got flaws and flabby bits, but there's usually something in there for everybody.
Right.
You know, like, they don't, make billions of dollars and get bought by Disney for nothing.
Right. And so the... and also, they are not drowning out other voices. In fact, if anything, and you look at like stuff like Jojo Rabbit, or you look at stuff like Knives Out, they're giving these directors like Rian Johnson and Taika Waititi and things like that the opportunity to make the $1 billion movie, so that someone in a studio goes, well, they're hot shit because they just made a $1 billion movie. And then they go, well, what do you want to do next? And he goes, well, I want to do Jojo Rabbit. All right, well, I want to do Knives Out. And those movies get made off the back of a machine like that. So I think that...
I agree with you on that one, by the way. I'm all for Marvel movies and blockbusters like that subsidising actors and directors' pet projects that end up being really good. And the thing is, just like you say, like, you go to the cinema and there's nobody wants to go up against, a Marvel movie. Nobody wants to go up against, a Star Wars movie. So when those movies are out, you've got other screens, so they just put like other things in. And then people who've got AMC passes, whatever, they'll go and see the Marvel movie. And the next week you go, well, the Marvel movie's like got 3 weeks to run or 4 weeks to run. So what else is there?
Right.
And you go. So there's like...
No, but I've been really, like,
we've seen,
done pretty well
I was just thinking
this year.
But we've seen...
Ready or Not did really well.
There was like 2 years when it was all fucking franchise this and bollocks that and sequels, and it was just crap. And we never now, pretty much, I would say, every week, we're able to find something that's like at least a bit interesting.
Right.
And that's quite... I mean, we could have gone to see 21 Bridges, which I'd have been, like, fine with.
21 Bridges. Unfortunately, Black and Blue came and went.
Yeah, but I'd love to see that. Yeah.
I would have gone to see that. I would love to see Queen and Slim.
Yeah.
With the world in the state that it is, it's
Yes.
It's nice to see that media isn't necessarily in that bad a state. And while you may have to poke and prod around a little bit, you will find some gems. And while, like I say, Knives Out is not for us because we've seen stuff like it or whatever too many times, or we know Daniel Craig too much or whatever it is, it wasn't like a resounding 5-star, oh my god, I'll be watching this every Christmas success. But it was a damn well-made movie, a perfectly decently written movie, where 90% of the cast were phenomenally well cast and phenomenally well acted. And it had a guy in the middle of it who was like doing his absolute best. And
occasionally succeeding. It's just that there's that 20-minute bit when he's supposed to be this undeniable, like, because he's also supposed to shake things up, which he doesn't do. Now that I think about it, the whole purpose of his character is they think they're just talking to the police, that it's all done and dusted, and then his character is supposed to like shake things up, like with his like, what is a guy of his stature and charisma doing with, like, in this little town with this little drama? You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's supposed to be, and he doesn't do that. But everything after that, when he becomes like part of the ride, part of like the mystery, he's great. And like, when he's got some motion and some energy, he's great. But when it's just that bit at the beginning when he has to really kind of ground the film in this, what is going on here, what's happening underneath the surface, and he just doesn't have the chops to pull it off.
Right. And also because oh my goodness, I might have just solved it. What is compelling about the mystery in this film is towards the end. So it's in the second half of the second act and in the third act. No, we're good. Yeah, we're all done. Thank you. Second half of the second act and the third act. And that's fine. Most mystery films, though, the mystery is compelling from the get-go. The only real thing is everyone's saying it's suicide. The police are saying it's suicide. The family is saying it's suicide. Yet this detective has been hired. And that isn't necessarily a strong enough hook to push me through the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's unless there is that charisma, because if he's that big charisma amongst all this stuff, then the audience's central question is, what's this guy doing here? In this tiny little mystery, this tiny little thing? This guy, this great detective, and blah 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 blah. If he's got that charisma, if he's obviously like shaping everything around him with this absolute certainty that he belongs here and that he is doing his thing, even though everyone's like, this is already done, no?
Right.
Because just the other thing too is that
I just think it started off weekly, considering, or it started off with week. It wasn't really till, and then also because of the way it's set up, you think you know what happened 40 minutes in when she reveals what happened that night in her head. And then again, there isn't enough doubt sown until the end that anything else is going on. Even though I knew, obviously, she wasn't going to turn out to be whatever. I know, I know there's a bunch of misdirection. I'm just saying that.
No, I don't think it's about misdirection, because I'm just saying from my experience, I enjoyed that it turned into a different kind of a movie.
Yes.
Where it was about trying to avoid. That, that she deserved it. This is what he wanted, and now she has to avoid.
But I think that's why it lacked the tension it potentially could have had. But that's only because I think that's just... Sometimes I need to get to the end of a discussion about a film and go, I need to answer that nagging question in my head of why I didn't come out of it buzzing. Yeah. I came out of it really happy, glad we saw it, glad we talked about it.
It was really fun to watch. It was a fun watch.
I did not come out of it buzzing.
No, you're right, but I think you put your finger on it. I think it's about that his performance at the beginning is not what it needed to be to make the film really pop, and he gave it everything after that, and just like you say, actually with some success. I forgot all about the fact that I didn't like him. That last 45 minutes of the movie, I forgot all about that. It didn't normally when a character bugs me.
I kept waiting, even at the end of the movie. I kept waiting for someone to pick up the big gulp in the car.
Which, to be fair, is actually is another really funny joke, because if someone had actually done that, it would have been too far. But the joke was exactly, I think, our reaction was, God, I hope someone doesn't drink that. And that's the joke. That's the brilliant. It doesn't need to have the follow through. No. Just that potential existing.
You're already unnerved.
Yeah, exactly. That might. Even though no one even looked at it, there wasn't like a moment of her going, you better put that down.
When it cut back to him, sat in the car, like singing.
Yeah. No, that's what I was thinking.
And talking about donuts. And I was like, I hope he didn't go, coffee or whatever.
Yeah. But again,
I was so close.
I really feel like that's deliberate. That knowing that would be a thing by doing it that way and putting it there. But that's, maybe not.
But no.
Go see it.
Worth a watch. Go see it.
It's a 4-star movie for me. Maybe a 3.5 for you.
It's a solid 3.5.
I'd give it 4 because I really, really enjoyed it. There's only like 5, maybe 10 minutes of Craig's performance. No, there's probably like a 20-minute stretch when I'm like, I'm not really buying this. And then
I feel like when I rewatch it, when it comes on like streaming, and Kim's like, "Oh, you went and saw that with Jim. Would you want to watch that again?" I'd be like, "Sure, let's put it on," and I might have a better time with it. I think.
Yeah, I think knowing that once there's that extended Marta and Christopher Plummer bit, which is about half an hour in.
Plummer was so good.
He's great.
So good.
He is so good. But so about half an hour in, there's that extended sequence.
Yes.
Everything after that, Craig is great. But before that, he's not.
Yes.
Right. That's it. We're done. No more podcast. The end.
Buy shit for Christmas. Support the podcast. Hello at After Movie Diner. 347-669-0053.
Come up with a good slogan. I will buy you a bloody T-shirt, mate.
Wow. Jim hasn't even bought me a T-shirt.
No. I bought your T-shirts, though.
True.
All right, and here is a little snippet from the Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures Christmas single, which I believe is called Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. It's available on miscplumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. That's MISC, plumbingfixtures.bandcamp.com. It's Christmas, Christmas, Christmas 2019, 2 songs. It's only $1. Please go buy it. That would be fantastic. If you really can't spare $1, then you can always go to Spotify and check out Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures and listen to it there. I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak preview of the song now, and I wish you a very merry and incredibly happy Christmas to all listeners who have made it this far. Thank you very much. It's obvious from listening back to that while the mics certainly make Jim and I louder and clearer against the backing of the diner noise, I do need to figure out some way to do levels, because obviously just recording it through the regular iPhone recording app led it to kind of blow out occasionally if we were a bit loud. So got to figure that one out. I hope it was an okay listening experience and you didn't mind. Trying to figure it out with better sound if we're going to keep doing it in a diner like this. Then I would like it to sound better. So we'll see. We'll keep figuring it out. We'll keep trying to play around. Thanks for sticking with us. And as I said before, Merry Christmas, and look forward to our New Year's Eve special on 80s romps with Mo, Andrew, and Doc, which will be coming up somewhere around December 30th.
Mary steps into the kitchen, a vision Christmas morning. While we're in the living room, the tree we are adorning, and the old Cadillac up on blocks in the front yard. But we will celebrate Christmas merry if times are good or if they're hard. We went to the grocery store as a family to escape the landlord, and bought the best damn bird we could find for what we thought we could afford. With two kids in the back of our old pickup, Mary, you were everything to me. Oh, Mary, let's keep on driving to as far as our eyes can see. Let's have Christmas on the road. Let's see the land. Well, let's live as free, Mary, as any two people can, with two kids in tow. We won't just have one small tree, we can have a whole row. Let's gas her up, Mary, and see just how far we can go. We'll pick up hitchhikers and let them join in our feast of some chips, a few Twinkies, and whatever the gas station has to eat. We'll meet the soul of the earth, we'll break bread, we'll see this whole white land of ours. Please tell me, Mary, this is everything your heart desires. Let's have Christmas on the road. Let's follow the white lines to the holiday. If home is where the heart is, then with you, Mary, and the kids, home is any place. And your presence is presence enough for me. There's nothing better than your lady in an old car on the road, America, and a motel